Imagine walking into a high-stakes meeting, a difficult negotiation, or even a casual dinner date, and knowing with absolute certainty that you are the one pulling the strings. You can read their insecurities. You can predict their next move. You can plant a thought in their head and make them believe it was their own idea all along. Whether it is your difficult boss, a distant partner, or a complete stranger, imagine having the ability to make them dance to your rhythm without them ever realizing music is playing. These are the hidden mechanics of human behavior that have been used for centuries by world leaders, master negotiators, billion-dollar marketing firms, and the most charismatic people you have ever met. In this video, we are not just going to give you simple tips. We are going to hand you a weapon. We are going to deconstruct the 5 dark psychological tools that can transform an ordinary person into a master influencer. The techniques you are about to learn are powerful because they bypass the conscious, logical mind and hack directly into the primal brain. Do not use this to harm others. Do not use this to manipulate for evil, because once you see the strings that control human behavior, you can never unsee them. Let us begin with the first concept, which taps into the deepest part of human nature. We call this the reactance trigger, but you might know it as the art of the forbidden fruit. To understand this, you must accept a fundamental truth about humans. We do not crave happiness or safety above all else. Above all else, we crave freedom. The moment you tell a human being that they cannot have something, or that they are not allowed to do something, a psychological fuse is lit. In the scientific world, this is known as reactance theory. When our behavioral freedom is threatened, we experience a sudden surge of motivation to regain that freedom. In simple terms, we want what we cannot have simply because we cannot have it. The amateur manipulator begs for what they want. They say, "Please do this for me." The master influencer, however, forbids it. Think about a wet paint sign. If you see a bench with no sign, you walk past it without a second thought. But the moment you see a sign that says "Do not touch," your brain immediately screams at you to reach out and touch it. You want to verify it. You want to rebel against the order. The prohibition created the desire. So, how do you use this in real life? Let's look at a common scenario. Suppose you need a colleague or a friend to help you with a difficult, boring task. The nice guy approach is to ask them directly, begging for help because you are stuck. This usually triggers their defense mechanism. They feel burdened, they feel used, and they will likely find an excuse to say no. Now, apply the reactance trigger. You approach them and say that you have this project, but honestly, they should forget about it. Tell them it is brutal and complex. Tell them you were going to ask for their help, but looking at it now, you do not think even they could handle this one because it is just too difficult. Analyze what just happened. You did not ask for help. You challenged their competence. You took the opportunity away from them. Their ego immediately reacts. They think, "What do you mean I cannot handle it? I am capable. Watch me." They will now fight you for the privilege of doing the work you wanted them to do in the first place. You have turned their resistance into compliance simply by pushing it away. This works in attraction as well. Instead of chasing someone, you tell them that you two probably shouldn't hang out because you would be too much trouble together. You have just framed yourself as the forbidden fruit, and suddenly, they are the ones trying to convince you why you should spend time together. Control the impulse to chase, and you control the dynamic completely. Now let's move deeper into the illusion of control with our second tool, which I call the double bind. Most people walk around believing they have free will. They believe they are making their own choices every step of the way. They are wrong. Most people are simply choosing from the menu that someone else designed for them. The greatest trick is convincing someone they have a choice when the outcome has already been decided by you. This is the art of giving controlled options. The human brain actually hates ambiguity. We hate open-ended questions because they require too much energy to process. This is called decision fatigue. If I ask you what you want for dinner, your brain freezes for a moment. There are too many options, and it feels like work. But if I ask you if you want sushi or tacos, your brain is relieved. It only has to compare two variables. The master influencer never asks yes or no questions, because yes or no gives the other person the power to reject you. Instead, you offer two options, both of which lead to your desired outcome. Let's say you want to close a deal or get a date. The amateur asks if they would like to meet up sometime. This is weak because it invites a no. The master asks, I am busy earlier in the week, but I have some time open on Thursday evening or Saturday afternoon. Which works best for you? Analyze that sentence. The option of not meeting has been removed from the table entirely. The debate in their head is no longer about whether they should meet you, but rather when they should meet you. You have framed their reality. They feel in control because they get to pick the time, but you are the architect of the scenario. This is exactly how car salesmen operate. They do not ask if you want to buy the car. They ask if you want the silver financing package or the gold financing package. By the time you are arguing about the package, you have already bought the car in your mind. The rule is simple. Never give absolute freedom. Give controlled freedom. Build a maze where every path leads to the center. The third tool in your arsenal is perhaps the most subtle, yet it carries the most weight. We call this the passive guilt mirror. Guilt is a sticky, heavy emotion. It sits in the stomach. It keeps people awake at night. And because humans are social creatures who rely on the tribe for survival, we are biologically wired to avoid being the bad guy. However, there is a right way and a wrong way to use guilt. If you use active guilt, by yelling, blaming, or accusing someone, they will resent you. They will put up a wall to defend themselves. If you scream at a friend that they never call you, they will simply label you as needy and pull away further. The master uses passive guilt. You do not attack. You simply hold up a mirror and let them see their own reflection. This relies on the psychological principle of cognitive dissonance. People like to see themselves as good, reliable, and caring individuals. When their actions do not match that self-image, they feel mental pain. Your job isn't to yell. Your job is to highlight the gap between who they think they are and how they are acting. Let's go back to the friend who breaks promises. Instead of getting angry, you get disappointed. Anger is hot and burns out quickly. Disappointment is cold, and cold burns longer. You say to them calmly that it is okay and they should not worry about it. You tell them that you honestly just assumed that if this was important to them, they would have made it happen. But you understand everyone has priorities. This statement is devastating. You validated them by saying you understand, but you subtly implied that you are not a priority to them. Now, to restore their self-image as a good friend, they have to prove you wrong. They will apologize. They will overcompensate. They will drive across town to see you, just to remove that stain of guilt. You didn't force them. You didn't fight. You simply stepped back and let the weight of their own conscience crush them into compliance. Moving on to the fourth tool, we have something that overrides the brain's safety systems. This is called the emotional hijack. We like to think we are logical creatures. We like to think we weigh the pros and cons before making a decision. We don't. Neuroscience tells us that the amygdala, which is the emotional center of the brain, processes information milliseconds faster than the prefrontal cortex, which is the logical brain. If you can trigger a strong emotion, whether it is fear, desire, rage, or shock, you essentially short-circuit their logic. When someone is in a high emotional state, their IQ effectively drops. This is why scams work so well. They create urgency by telling you your account has been hacked, and you panic. This is why love bombing works. They create intense euphoria, and you ignore the red flags. When the blood rushes to the heart, it leaves the head. If you need to persuade someone, never start with a spreadsheet. Never start with dry facts. Start with a feeling. If you are a leader, do not just talk about quarterly goals. Talk about the threat of the competition destroying everything you have built, or the glory of being number one. Create a narrative of us versus them. Ask them if they are going to let the others be right about us. Once you have spiked their emotion, only then do you offer your solution as the only way to release that tension. You create the disease, which is the emotion, and then you sell the cure, which is your command. Remember that people will forget what you said. They will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. If you control the feeling, you control the man. And finally, we arrive at the most terrifying weapon in your arsenal, the one that requires no words at all, the vacuum of silence. In a world that never stops talking, silence is a form of violence. It is a disruption of the social contract. When you are silent, you become a blank screen. And when people see a blank screen, they project their deepest fears and insecurities onto it. Humans have a natural horror of vacuums. When there is silence in a conversation, our anxiety spikes. We feel a desperate need to fill the gap to restore social harmony. We start rambling. We start over-explaining. And most importantly, we start telling the truth. This is the ultimate negotiation tactic. Let's say you are negotiating a salary, or you suspect someone is lying to you. You make your offer, or you ask your probing question, and then you simply shut your mouth. You look them in the eye. You keep your face neutral. You do not nod to encourage them. You do not smile to comfort them. You just wait. The first 4 seconds will feel awkward. The next 4 seconds will feel excruciating. This is where the amateur breaks. They get nervous and speak just to relieve the tension. Do not break. Let the silence do the heavy lifting for you. The other person will start to squirm. They will think you are judging them. They will think their offer was too low. They will think you know their secret. They will begin to bid against themselves. They will say that maybe they could do a little better, or they will admit the truth just to end the torture of your silence. He who speaks first loses. He who holds the silence holds the crown. The reactance trigger, the double bind, the passive guilt mirror, the emotional hijack, and the vacuum of silence. You now possess the toolkit of the 1%. You have peeked behind the curtain of human interaction. If you look back at your life, you will realize that 90% of the decisions you thought you made were likely engineered by someone using these exact techniques on you. But now, the roles are reversed. You are no longer the puppet, you are the puppeteer. But I leave you with one final thought. Influence is not about controlling others simply for the sake of power. It is about protecting yourself from being controlled. The best defense against the dark arts is to know them. You have a choice now. You can continue to walk through life blindly, or you can open your eyes and start playing the game. If this knowledge has expanded your mind, and if you are ready to stop being a background character in your own life, then prove it. Join us subscribe to this channel. We are building a tribe of the dangerous few, the observant few. Do not just watch the world happen to you. Observe it, control it, and I will see you in the shadows.